Well, welcome back, everyone, to our wonderful celebration of the Holy Week, the week that we call Holy. We began with a Palm Sunday, and now we move on to Holy Thursday, Good Friday, and Easter Sunday. Each and every day it becomes more of a challenge. Each and every day it's a different way in which we are called to look upon our gift of faith. And boy, we are called in these days of the coronavirus to look upon our gift of faith in so many different ways. So, as we celebrate Holy Thursday, what is it that we celebrate? Well, basically, we celebrate the institution of the Eucharist, but it's always the story of John's Gospel. And the thing about John's Gospel is, he doesn't talk about the Last Supper. The example that John gives of the Eucharist is washing feet. It's a totally different way in which we are called to look upon our celebration of the Eucharist. And yet, it is also a very challenging way in the midst of this coronavirus to see the ways in which we are called not only to attend church, which we cannot do these days, but take what we do there and live it in our lives. And that's what John does with the washing of the feet. And I think it is ironic that it comes at a time like this because we are not able to go to church because our churches are closed. Never did we think this would be a part of our experience as members of the believing community. And yet it's there. And yet we are still called to be men and women and people who live out the gift of Eucharist each and every day. And it is not easy to do. It is ironic that it happens at this time. But the one thing I think of always on Holy Thursday is the one picture that's usually in the press on Holy Thursday is what? It's the Holy Father. And what is he doing? He's not in the basilica. No, he's at a shelter. He's at a prison. He's at a hostel. And what's he doing? He's washing feet. And it's a way in which Francis exemplifies for us what the message of Eucharist is about in our lives. It is a way in which we are called to look at creative things in our lives that can help us to be men and women who believe the Eucharist nourishes and strengthens us. Even though physically it cannot happen for us today, in the world in which we live, in the challenges which are ours, Holy Thursday gives us a way to reflect on Eucharist that's very different and a way in which we see it that way. Even Jesus, in washing the feet, he knew what Judas was going to do, and yet he washed his feet. So often in our lives, we meet those kinds of challenges. And it is the whole thing that the wonderful Sisters of St. Joseph give us that carries them the love of dear neighbor without distinction. Where is it in our lives these days that we have to be people of the Eucharist? It's not going to be in church. It's not going to be by sharing in communion, but it's going to be by taking those words that we use at the end of the Mass. Go in peace to love and serve the Lord in one another. How do you and I go in peace these days to love and serve the Lord in our families, in our outreach, in the ways in which we are stretched, in the challenges of being family in a different sort of way, in the ways in which we are alone and people reach out to us and we reach out to them. We feed one another, not necessarily at the altar of the Lord, but we take the results of the Eucharist and we live it each and every day. So let our prayer be, as we celebrate Holy Thursday, that we know of the gift of God's presence in a Eucharist that is very different for each of us. But it is ironic that this particular gospel takes on a whole different outlook for each and every one of us, this washing of the feet. And as we look at our Holy Father, we look at our own lives and what are the ways in which we are called to be helpful to one another, even in the most stressful situations. Jesus was in that situation, and we are today. And we need to take heart in that and find ways to move forward. May God bless us as we continue our little reflection and look forward to Good Friday tomorrow.